Hello, everyone. Happy Monday. I hope you had an incredible weekend. And I'm coming live to you here today to talk about personal responsibility versus blame. This is a huge piece in my personal experience in healing. And I really want to be able to share it with all of you and see if you can start applying this to your life so that maybe you can take the blame off yourself or other people and really start creating the life that you want to have, the relationships that you want to have. So if you are here with me live, go ahead and let me know, say hi, drop a heart, drop a like. Just let me know that you're here. So when it comes to personal responsibility and blame, this is something that I had to learn the hard way a lot. I used to be that person that absolutely had to learn the hard way to get these lessons and for me to actually change in my life. And a lot of the times it wasn't the first time that the bad things happened that I had to learn and that I had to change. So I really want to share this with you so that you don't continue to have to go through this, right? So when I talk about personal responsibility, I talk about becoming the energetic match for what you desire a lot. That's literally my entire business is teaching you how to become an energetic match for the life and the love that you desire, the relationships that you want to desire. And so when we talk about becoming the energetic match, there's a lot of personal responsibility in that. And I talk with a lot of women, either me coaching them just, online in Facebook groups, in my own Facebook group. I talk with a lot of women, and a lot of the thing seems to be that there's either blame for themselves or the other person, right? Regardless of what that situation is, whether it's dating, whether it's their parents, whether it's their ex, whether it's whatever the thing is, right? And so what I want to bring to light here is that if you've been burned by somebody, you absolutely have every right to be upset about that. You have every right to be upset about them hurting you, betraying you, all of the things, right? And so when I talk about being the energetic match and taking personal responsibility, we want to be able to take responsibility for our part in the experience or taking the lesson from it. Because what I've found over the years is I really struggled with the mentality of everything is happening to me. For most of my life, I felt like everything was happening to me and I didn't have any control over what was happening in my life. And so I continued to have really awful experiences time and time again. I was in multiple toxic and abusive relationships. I had really tumultuous family relationships, and I wasn't getting what I wanted out of life. I was broke. I was not living in a very good neighborhood. I was a single mother. I was all these things. And I just felt like I was powerless to my situation, and I was a victim to my circumstances. And it wasn't really until I had these, difficult situations that brought it to the light that I was co-creating my reality. So if you're in a relationship or a situationship or an experience with another person, that's co-created by you and that person. And so we want to be able to take our power back. When I talk about becoming the energetic match for what you want, that gives you power. That means you're not a victim to your circumstances. Does that mean that nothing bad is ever going to happen to you in your life, or that you'll never get ghosted, or that you'll never experience a painful experience? No. But what it does offer you is I create my experiences in this life. And if something doesn't go my way, then what can I learn from it? Right? And so I want to give you a couple examples. More of a recent example that I talked about, and this was where a lot of things shifted for me, was when I went to the court with my daughter's paternal grandparents. And I made a whole post about this because in 2019, I was taken to court for 50-50 custody of my daughter, and they didn't call it custody. It was like 50-50 visitation. So they would get her 50% of the time, but they weren't calling it custody because they weren't trying to take her away from me. They were just trying to get 50-50 time, right? And so in that experience, it felt like I was absolutely powerless. I could have blamed them. I could have made them, these villains, which I did for a period of time. And sometimes I still catch myself in that. But I also took radical responsibility for the part that I played in this scenario because I was severely codependent. I didn't have any boundaries with them. I didn't know how to communicate what needed to happen with my daughter. And in that experience, I was in control of my mindset. So what they did was horrible and it was wrong. And it was completely just awful. The lies that they told about me, the manipulation, all the things, that's on them. Yes, it's awful and it was painful and it was honestly the most traumatic experience of my life. And I've been through so many traumatic experiences, but that one really was one of the most traumatic experiences of my life because it had to do with my daughter. My daughter's the most important person in the world to me. But I had to take personal responsibility. I couldn't control what they were saying or what they were doing. And if I sat there and pointed the finger at them and said, I'm blaming you for all of this, and I hate you, you're the worst, and, just tearing them down to the judge and the guardian ad litem, the person that, comes in and dissects our lives and basically makes the decisions, it wouldn't have gone as well as it did. I had every reason to lose that case only because usually the people with the more money wins and things were just not going well. If you look at the young single mother who, has some things on her record and all the things, or these grandparents that, are very wealthy and whatever, typically in court, people are very judged in that way. And so things weren't going well for me for a lot of it. And then they switched because I decided that I was like, I can blame them all day long for what they're doing to me, but that's not going to change the way this court thing is going to go. And so what I decided was I took radical responsibility for me not putting boundaries in place with them, for letting them manipulate me, for letting them do all these things that I should have put a stop to in the very beginning. But guess what? I didn't know any better at the time. This was 2019. I was codependent at this time in my life. I didn't know how to set boundaries. I didn't know how to do all these things, right? And so I didn't blame myself. I didn't say, oh my gosh, you're such a fucking idiot. You're so stupid. I can't believe you didn't do this. Instead, I didn't blame myself. I didn't have to blame myself. And it's like blaming yourself or the other person, that's a really low vibration. And so when you're at that low vibration of blame, what do you think is going to come in? That's what you're an energetic match for. Energetics is everything. And so what I decided to do was this was like a life or death situation to me. And so I got very, very good at controlling my mindset because I felt so out of control. I can't tell you, in the court system, you have no control whatsoever. I had full control of my daughter, custody of her entire life. And then with the drop of a hat, I didn't. I was in no control. And so I was like, shit, the only control that I have is what I think and what I decide to learn from this. And so because of this situation, I took the learning lessons from this situation. I didn't blame myself and say what a stupid idiot I was. Did I have a lot of bad things to say about them? Yes. But when I realized, I was like, I can continue to blame them and be at that low frequency and be an energetic match for more pain, turmoil, and chaos. Or I can focus on myself and I can focus on my thoughts and I can focus on the things that I can control. And that's what personal responsibility does for you. It puts you back into control because otherwise you're fucking powerless. And that's why Empowered Femme, my brand, my business, and Empowered Academy is named that, to give you your power back. You have the ability to create what you want in this life. You have the ability to create the life that you want, the relationships that you want. I've done it. And I've helped hundreds of women do it. And so when I talk about taking responsibility for your part in your relationships and your dating experiences and your life, it's not to blame you and say that you're wrong or that you're bad. It's so that you can be like, I can control me. I can control my thoughts, my feelings, my emotions. And maybe you can't right now. Maybe that's really hard for you because I couldn't, back then. But you're learning how to, right? And so by you just recognizing like, shit, I can co-create my reality with the universe, with these other people. How I show up matters. What I tolerate matters. If you're stuck in a situationship, you can blame the person for not meeting your needs all day long, but you are responsible for staying in that relationship still. So you need to take a look at that and say, well, I'm choosing this. This person's hurting me, but I'm choosing this. In the abusive relationships that I was in, was the abuse my fault? No, that was on them. Their narcissism was on them. The pain that they were inflicting, that was on them. But I chose to stay. And I'm not blaming myself for that. I didn't know any better at the time. I didn't understand. I didn't understand how to leave or whatever the case may be. So I don't blame myself for that, but do I take responsibility? 100%. I chose to stay there, even though I didn't know any other way. I still chose that. And so when I realized that I could choose different, my whole life changed. I realized that I didn't have to be in these abusive relationships. I didn't have to be in these toxic relationships. So when the final straw happened in my life, where I was in the last abusive relationship that I had ever been in, where the guy that I was dating threw me into a bathtub and gave me a severe concussion, I decided, I was like, I can't live like this anymore. And I will not live like this anymore. I will never be in an abusive relationship again. And I wasn't. I chose that in that moment. And sometimes we have to get to that pain where we're like, I will never do this again. Sometimes we have to get there. That was the way that I used to learn. Now I'm not like that anymore, as much. But I chose that. And then I was never in an abusive relationship after that again. And then all I attracted was emotionally unavailable people. And I would complain and say, this guy won't commit to me. This guy won't commit to me. He says that he likes me and we do all these, things together that make me feel like we're in a relationship, but he won't be my boyfriend. And I blamed him and I blamed him and I blamed him. That was my responsibility. I chose to stay in that dynamic. Instead of blaming him, what I ended up doing was, I blamed him. This went on for 3 years that I was dating somebody that only wanted to be my friend. And so I took responsibility there and I accepted him for who he was. And I was like, I accept that he cannot give me what I need. So I'm going to walk away. I have that choice. So I stopped blaming him. I stopped judging him for his emotional unavailability. And I walked away. And that was one of the hardest things that I had to do because I was overcoming codependency. I was overcoming love addiction. And for me to choose myself, that was my responsibility. I could have continued to blame him. I could have told myself, oh my God, you're so stupid for staying in this for so long. I didn't know any better. I thought things would change. I didn't understand all the things that I understand now. And so I took responsibility and I said, I'm going to stop judging him for his emotional unavailability. He showed me who he was. He told me he didn't want a relationship with me. What am I going to do with that information? Am I going to stay and hope that he changes? Or am I going to say, you know what? This isn't right for me. And I'm going to take that responsibility and I'm going to walk away. In my last relationship, I could blame my partner for cheating on me all day long. I could say, he ruined my fucking life. He cost me $15,000 for the move that I just had to go through, as well as reopening my court case and all the things, which I was angry about. And I'm still kind of angry about it on some days. But where does that get me? Where does that get me to blame him? Where does it get me to blame myself? When I teach personal responsibility, this is not to blame self. I'm not telling myself how dumb I am or that it's all my fault. That's not what I'm doing. What I tell myself is I chose that. There were red flags that I didn't see, that I didn't walk away from in the beginning. And I chose that. I chose to move to Florida. I chose to reopen my court case. I chose all of that. And did he do something that was really awful? Yes. But guess what? Because I stopped blaming him and I didn't continuously blame him and judge him and make him wrong for it, I healed quickly. I took the lessons from that relationship and I put them into practice, and I forgave him, and I took responsibility for my part in that relationship. And I healed so quick, you guys. That pain that I experienced from my most recent breakup, I mean, was it really painful? Yes, it was wildly painful. And I had to face a lot of things, and it was really uncomfortable, and it put me in a really bad position. But today, like literally, I'm so grateful that that happened. I'm so grateful that the guy that put me in the hospital because if it weren't for that, then I wouldn't have started to change my life. Because when he put me in the hospital, I realized I was like, I need to change my life. I quit smoking cigarettes. I started going to the gym, and I enrolled myself in cosmetology school. It's like, if I just blamed him and said, I don't get why these things are happening to me, everybody treats me like shit, blah, 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 I never would have learned that lesson. And then I would have found myself in another abusive relationship. So the personal responsibility, the power lies within us. We get to decide what we will tolerate and what we won't tolerate. When it comes to what we're attracting into our lives, if we're not liking it, we have to hold up a mirror and say, what is going on here? I create my reality. I create the blueprint. I create who I attract into my life. That doesn't mean that everybody that you meet is going to be perfect. When I started dating again, after I ended my relationship, I remember like one guy ghosted me after we were talking for like, I don't know, a week. And we were having really great conversation. And like, I'm just really goofy and ridiculous. And I say stupid shit. Like, that's just, I like to be funny. Like, that's just something that I am. And I remember, and I actually just told my client the story. He like ghosted me after I said something really stupid, but like, it was funny in my head. And he ghosted me. And instead of like blaming him and be like, oh my gosh, I can't believe he would be so immature and blah, 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 and whatever, I was like, what is this teaching me? It taught me that I want somebody who can just like embrace and love my goofiness and my weirdness and, all the stupid shit that I say. And instead of like blaming him or blaming myself and saying, oh my gosh, like I said something wrong or I did something wrong. I didn't feel that way. I didn't feel like I did anything wrong. I was like, I really want somebody who fully and unconditionally accepts me. The person that I date now, I say so many stupid things and he just thinks it's like the funniest thing in the world. Like, he thinks I'm so funny. And like, all we do is laugh all day long. We had the most like epic romantic like date on Saturday. And we laugh the entire time, and we both say really ridiculous things, and we're both just silly. I wouldn't have gotten that with the person that ghosted me months ago. Okay. So I took personal responsibility of like, why did I attract this? Okay, this is the lesson that it taught me. And when I was like, okay, I want somebody who's unconditionally accepting, that I can just be myself around, that I don't feel like I have to like have a filter. That's what I want. Lo and behold, I love that part about myself. I'm not beating myself up. I'm not blaming myself. Who do I attract? Somebody who gets me, right? I create my reality. I create my relationships. It honestly, when you look at my relationships from 10 years ago and my relationships now, they're so different. I used to attract guys who would physically hurt me, threaten to kill me. They would steal money from me. They would call me awful names. The men that I attract now, they cherish me. Like, I feel cherished. And all I had to do was change myself. And then all different stuff started to come in, and I saw an evolution happening. The more I loved and respected myself and set standards and boundaries, With each relationship, I noticed I was getting better and better. With each relationship, I noticed I was getting better and better. And now here I am, and I feel very fulfilled and I feel very happy. And each relationship, I see it. Okay, I remember when I was feeling this way. And this relationship, I was a workaholic. In this relationship, I didn't accept this part about myself yet. And here I am. There's an evolution. And I take full responsibility for everything that I've experienced. I'm actually so grateful that I had the painful experiences that I had, because now I'm here. I took the lessons from all the pain. And guess what? This is now my career, and I help hundreds and hundreds of women do this. If I would have blamed everyone else, if I would have blamed myself, and if I didn't extract the lessons and take personal responsibility, I wouldn't have the career that I have today. I mean, I have the most beautiful career on the planet that I'm so passionate about. The women in my world that come in struggling with, aftermath of narcissistic abuse, or attracting emotionally unavailable men, or, they're stuck in a situationship. And when I see them change their life just by changing themselves, I cry about it all the time. Like, it brings tears to my eyes, because they're taking personal responsibility for their lives, and they're changing what they have control over. And when you change what you can have control over, people react to you differently. The relationships that I have with my family, we didn't even have a relationship prior to 2019. And, I've had people, I actually, when I moved back from Florida, I lived with them for 2 months. And I had so many people be like, well, lucky for you, you have that family. And I was like, it's not lucky. I healed I healed a lot of the issues that I had with my family that made it possible for us to be able to live together for 2 months. Was it perfect? No. But was it a hell of a lot better than it was 5 years ago? Yes. Completely. And it's not because I kept blaming them and saying they need to change, they need to change, they need to change. It was like, I have a responsibility in how I respond and how I treat them and how we interact. And I can choose to take things personally, or I can choose to change my reactions. So again, personal responsibility. We all have every excuse to blame other people. We have so many reasons to blame other people, and you can. I'm not telling you can't. You can do it. You can blame them, but it's not going to get you what you want. Taking personal responsibility for your life and your relationships, that will get you what you want. So if you're not having the relationships that you want, if you're in a toxic situationship, if you're not being committed to by somebody, if you are continuously attracting emotionally unavailable people, or you're not attracting anything at all, and you want to blame the dating apps, you want to blame the men, you want to blame the men who ghost you, you can blame them, but it will not get you what you want. So if instead you were like, I'm not going to blame myself, I love myself, I'm learning, I've never done this before, I'm learning, I've never, experienced this thing before, I'm learning. That's personal responsibility. It's like, I did the best I could with what I knew at the time, and now I know better, so I'm going to do better. You don't have to say I'm a fucking idiot and blah, 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 blah. I don't want you to blame yourself. It's not about blame. Blame is a low energetic frequency. I want you to be empowered. Empowered is the highest, did you know, on the emotional guidance system scale? Empowerment is the highest vibration, along with gratitude. Why do you think my brand is Empowered Femme? I empowered myself to change my life and my relationships, not by changing anyone else, but by changing myself. And then, they responded. It is the highest frequency to be empowered. And being empowered means you're taking responsibility, and that you have a choice in this. You can't control the things that happen to you, but you can control how you respond to them. I even did this with a sexual assault that I experienced when I was in high school. I blamed the person who sexually assaulted me for so many years. I said they were the reason I had an eating disorder. They were the reason I was so fucked up. They were the reason that I was addicted to Xanax and all the things. And when I decided to stop giving them that power over me, and I took my power back from that situation and said what they did was awful and wrong and horrible, and there is no excuse for that. I said, I can't control what happened, but I can control how I'm choosing to respond to it. And that was very transformative to me. I stopped blaming him for all of my problems. And I said, I'm deciding to not allow myself to have this power over me. And I'm going to choose that I'm going to do things differently because I'm giving this person way too much power. They shouldn't have that much power over the way that I feel and what I do. And so that was a very powerful, life-changing moment for me as well. And so even in those situations, and I really hesitated to even share that with you because I don't want that to get backlash. It's not like, I'm not saying that what happened was okay. I'm just saying that we have the responsibility of how we decide to heal. Okay. So this is my whole point in personal responsibility. If you're not experiencing what you want to in your relationships, we have to take a look at what's going on. Why is this happening? Instead of this is happening to me, I don't have any control over it. All men suck. All men are bad. There's no good guys in my area. All I do is get cheated on, blah, 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 blah. If we say, why is this happening? What is the pattern? Not because I'm wrong or bad or something's wrong with me, but what part of me is co-creating this? And that will change your life. It will absolutely change your life. When you start to heal you, when you start to put the focus back on you, it will change your life. And it'll happen so fast. It will happen so fast. And that's what I see in my containers all the time. My clients overcome codependency. They overcome the aftermath of narcissistic abuse. They overcome anxious attachment, disorganized attachment. They overcome shitty dating experiences. They start to have better dating and relationship experiences. They start manifesting their ideal partners. They start having wonderful dates and experiences. They heal their depression and their anxiety and all the things. I've seen it happen with so many women. I can't tell you how many women have healed childhood trauma that has been life-changing for them. And everything starts with us. You can blame your partner. You can blame all the people. But when we heal within us, those things begin to change. The way we perceive these things that happened change. My clients and I are proof of that. That taking personal responsibility and having, and creating what we want to see happen in our lives. I see it happen all the time. Every single day. My clients are leaving bad situationships. They're leaving bad marriages. They're leaving bad, toxic situations. They're walking away from what no longer serves them. They are attracting better people into their lives. They're having better dating experiences. They're getting into happy, committed relationships. They're getting married. They're getting engaged. They're doing all these things. And it is quite remarkable because who they were when they were experiencing the painful relationships and who they are now, they're two different people. And if you're a different person, you're going to attract something different. So why not show up as your most highest, best self and watch what comes in? You have control over that. So that's what I wanted to bring here with you today, taking personal responsibility, not blaming yourself, but saying, I have the power to change my relationships. It's not just that I have a bad picker, or it's not just that, this is just the way things are, because it's not. You have the power to change that. I see it every single day. I've done it for myself. So many women have come to me through one-on-one work and Empowered Academy, my group coaching program. And so if you feel like this resonates with you and you want to step back into your power, you want to unlock the power that you have so that you can create an epic love affair with yourself and with your ideal partner. I would love to help you with that if you are aligned and if you're a good fit for my brand and my coaching containers. I would love that. So if you feel called, reach out to me and we can chat. And if not, I still hope that this was incredibly helpful for you. All right. I love you all so much, and I hope you have an amazing rest of your day. Bye, everyone.